Hi guys, so here we are on the first step. Tonight I am going to try to get that release off. So this VXR, I had the option, came with the Matthews Ultra Rest, the Integrate MX, and at the time I was pretty sold on I was going to stick to the QAD style that I was used to. However, I like to explore other options, and I've become sold on the limb driven. So I'm going to be taking this off. We're going to replace the rest, and we're going to get our D-loop and knock tied in and fairly square. That's going to be our first night's task. Stay tuned. There, we're going to replace it with the Hamskea Trinity Hunter Pro. So let's go ahead and get the VXR into our new boat press. Okay, so one thing I really like about this Last Chance Archery boat press, I got the Power Press Deluxe here, is the second axis. So instead of just the up down vertical axis here, I can bring the bow up to work on it without having to take it out of the press or go to a vise. I've also got this axis, make it more accessible to work on. So I'll bring it out here, hopefully where you're going to be able to see it well. And our first step is we're just going to go ahead and take this Matthews Ultra Rest Integrate MX off of there. For those that do go with the Matthews QAD or the Integrate like this, the riser has a little built-in, basically clamp clip in it, so that this rest just clips onto there and it sits flush on both sides of the riser, which is pretty cool. Obviously the Hamskea's a lot bulkier, but it's also a lot beefier, and that's why I have it. So okay, so it's just got a little thread lock to get it to clamp on there, and then this other one was just to hide that casing. And then we'll go ahead and take the cable driven attachment off here. Okay, good as new. That's going to go back in the packaging. I do like to go ahead and put just a little bit of wax on these bolts that are going in. Try to keep them from potentially seizing up. One thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to bring you in close to the rest after I get it kind of tightened in and show you. You see this cable guide, it actually hits the housing for this Hamskea. However, I do know that just by looking at this, the thickness of this riser is a little bit more than the standard. Likely because of how they hollowed it out here to take weight away but still give it that super durability. But due to that being so much thicker, this whole housing is going to have to go to the left anyway, away from the riser, which is going to give me clearance from this bar. So I've got that slightly tightened up. Let me just bring it in a little bit tighter. Okay, so now that you're in tighter, you can see this cable guide is hitting up against the enclosure for this Trinity. So we're just going to go ahead and slide it to the left and get it out of the way. Just trying to eyeball from my string here down the center of the rest shelf. We've still got plenty of clearance here. As you can see, we're not butting up against it. So I want to come back over here and try to get this a little more level. I don't tighten it too much, but we still got a little bit of room to play there. So some might wonder why I decided to go with this rest. So this Trinity actually has ball bearing out here, and I believe it's 2 in here, thus the name Trinity. 3 ball bearings and a full, basically, axle all the way through. So this is really stable, not going to be moving side to side. It's not just coming out and then kind of flapping with it. It's an axle all the way through to another ball bearing over here. With the limb driven versus the cable driven, basically I feel that we're going to have just that much longer that the rest is still in contact with the arrow while the power's coming through before the rest has to get out of the way for the arrow clearance. So what I want to try to do is get this tied off as close to the axle as possible. So if you're just thinking about the way of the bow mechanics, and if my goal is to have the longest amount of arrow contact with still getting complete clearance, the axle is going to be the last part of the bow to return to its normal position. The further that you go up the limb here, the more quickly that part of the bow is coming back to its static position where it is right now. The very last part is going to be that axle. So on your cams, on the axle, there's a plate here that I've actually seen guys run the string through, and we're going to do that later. For now, we're going to look at getting our knock tied. So part of what I like to do here on this channel too is play with or demonstrate some people's gadgets or tools. This is from Van Handel. This is their bow tuning system. And this string level is machine grade, and it is phenomenally tight on the string and just works so well. So we can go ahead. You can see there, kind of like a fishing bobber. Go ahead and put that on our string. And really cool about the press here with the ability to adjust. Actually, I'll tell you what, this desk that it's on is pretty soft due to basement requirements, so I'm not going to be able to get my axis perfect on this bow press for what I'm trying to do right now. I do have a bow vise right here. I'm going to go ahead and get switched over. Okay, so this is the QMP vise, which I really like. And what we're going to do is just go ahead and get it level. And that's maybe a little bit better lighting for everybody. Let's go ahead and start there. So when you are tuning your bow or building your bow, the back side of where your release bolted in, there's that same gap, that same hole. They call that the burger hole. And as far as starting your level, starting with the center of that burger hole seems to be the recommendation. So I'm definitely high. far as my arrow level with that van handle bow tuning, this actually has ball bearings in it, so you're not having direct contact and friction with the arrow when you're trying to find that level. So I know my bow's level. Now I know my arrow is also level right there. But I want to make sure we're in the middle of that burger hole, and I would say we're still probably a little high here. This Trinity has micro adjustments, which certainly helps. I think that's probably a pretty good starting place right there. So I'm going to just tighten this down a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and tie some serving, keep my nocking point there. I like where we're at. We've got level, 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 level. I'm pretty sure through about the center of the burger hole there. And yeah, I like where that's at. So I'm going to go ahead and tie some over-unders and tie that in. I have just some black BCY 3D here that I'm going to go ahead and use. So just double check that we're still good. Go ahead and get that knot kind of out of my way and do just a few more. Grab my lighter. Okay. We've got bottom knock point tied in there. On easy and that we are still level. We're good. And I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing on the top. Making sure it's not too overly tight on the knock. Okay, so I brought you in nice and tight here. There you can see what we're doing. So we've just got these two little tied in points for our knock. Real easy fit. And we're going to go ahead and tie the D-loop in. Okay, so hopefully you guys can see here what we're doing. We're above the nocking points. Got on the back side of the string. Not going to waste too much string there. You've got this loop below that both strings are going through. I don't cut the D-loop string down because I don't want to waste too much of it. But you've got your first side there. Okay, then I'll just use these pliers. Pull and squeeze, tighten it up as much as possible. Okay, then you've got your tail. I'm going to go ahead and cut that down. push that out and light it on fire. Being very careful not to damage the other end. Okay, now you know that D-loop's not coming apart. Okay, now the fun part is we'll bring in the rest of our D-loop material to the front side of the string now, the side that I'm on. This is coming under, and going back through the middle. See, that's back through the middle to about the size that you want there. So what, 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch, I would say. I go just a little touch over 1/2 inch because when we tighten this, it's going to tighten up quite a bit. Now your tail end, after you came through the middle back to the front, is going to go over the top. See, I'm still holding it with my fingers to keep it in place. I'm just going to go over the top and then feed back through. And you're going to snug that one down. Pinch it together, snug it down. There it is. Double check the length again here because I'm kind of anal about that stuff. And that's why, because I stretched it way out. Okay, we're about 5/8 finally. Doesn't look too big there, but again, when I put the pliers on, we're going to stretch that pretty significantly. Okay, so then the last thing we're going to go to do is go ahead and stretch that D. Now you see what I mean by why I don't go too big at the start, because now we're up to 3/4 of an inch. Alright guys, that's going to be a wrap for this first part. Again, today we just took off, I would call it the factory rest, put on this Trinity, or this Hamskea Trinity Hunter Pro, got it fairly square after tying in our knock ties and our D-loop. And at this point you can see where we're going to stop. Stay tuned in the next episode. Tie in that limb-driven rest, that Hamskea limb-driven rest, and make sure everything's square. Alright, thanks guys.